I watched a video from a creator this morning about ugly privilege.
There's this video circulating of a woman who says she has ugly privilege, and what she means by that is not that she thinks she's ugly, but that men don't find her attractive, and therefore they don't tend to harass her in public and do other things that men do to women.
And how do I know men aren't attracted to me? Because they're not flirting with me, they're not hitting on me, they're not trying to get my phone number, they're not asking me out. Like, men in real life mostly leave me alone.
Beauty privilege is real, period. But I'm not gonna talk about that. Let's talk about...
We live in a culture obsessed with appearances. From selfies to skincare, from Photoshop to plastic surgery, there's a collective urgency to be seen as beautiful. Which is ironic because my selfie sometimes looks like I lost a fight with a toaster. But what if everything we've been taught about beauty is backward? What if the so-called ugly people, the overlooked, unconventional, and unfiltered, actually hold a kind of superpower? Here's a deeper, more honest look at the unexpected privileges of being unattractive in a world that's built to worship the opposite. But before we jump in, if you caught my last video about pretty privilege, you know we talked a lot about how being conventionally attractive opens so many doors and shapes our social lives in ways most people don't even realize. Today, we're flipping the coin. I want to explore the other side of the story, the surprising advantages and hidden powers of being outside those beauty standards. So if you haven't seen that video yet, definitely watch it after this. And anyway, let's dive in. Beauty can act like a social cheat code. It opens doors and draws attention without much effort. But that often means those who possess it never have to cultivate other traits. When you don't get that kind of automatic validation, you're forced to grow in different, often more meaningful ways. You read more, think deeper, develop opinions that aren't just echoes. You develop a personality. That kind that doesn't just attract attention, it actually holds it. Tess Holliday is a plus-size model and body positivity activist who challenges traditional fashion industry standards. Instead of fitting the usual mold of beauty, she's built a career around confidence and self-love, reshaping the narrative around who gets to be seen and celebrated.
This is actually such a good question. I actually don't fit into cars. People come and they carry me. I get carried everywhere, like a giant, beautiful baby. Mwah.
Similarly, Lizzo, a singer and rapper known for her powerful voice and body-positive messages, has taken criticism about her appearance and turned it into anthems of empowerment. And Rainn Wilson, best known from The Office, once said, "My face has given me a career. If I were a pretty boy, I wouldn't have gotten those roles." There's also an odd form of safety in being outside those beauty standards. You're less likely to be seen as a prize or used for someone else's ego. Instead, people engage with you on different terms. Not because they want to be seen with you, but because they're curious about who you actually are. Tabitha Brown is an actress and social media personality known for her warm, authentic presence in vegan cooking videos. She doesn't conform to influencer beauty standards, yet her unique spirit has won millions of followers who connect with her for who she actually is, not how she looks.
Would you see carrots or do you see bacon? I'm about to make carrot bacon. Got some avocados you need to get rid of before they go bad? Well, honey, make a guacamole. Good morning. I just got up. I know I put my bathing suit on because it's already hot outside. But I'm going to make a smoothie real quick for breakfast, shall we? Yeah. I'm actually making it for the whole family, so I'm going to use 2 or maybe 3 bananas because that's my business.
Objectification is just a socially accepted form of violence. Ugly privileges means you get a pass from that. And ironically, that's a form of protection if you talk about. Maybe it's even better to be invisible than to be a walking trophy. When you're not trying to impress or be impressed, the masks drop. People talk to you plainly, sometimes even too plainly. While it can be painful to hear unfiltered opinions, you hear what people actually think. And you learn to navigate truth early. You build a filter for sincerity, and that's a skill many attractive people, surrounded by flattery and performance, may never fully develop. Ugly people are the ultimate litmus test for authenticity. If someone only treats you well because you're hot, are they really worth your time? Ugly privilege teaches brutal loyalty testing and saves you from fake friendships. And now let me tell you a quick story, the one that actually stuck with me. In school, I wasn't the one anyone was writing love notes to. I was the friend people confided in, not the one they crushed on. And yeah, that actually sucked. It made me invisible in ways that actually hurt. But what I didn't realize then was that being invisible gave me an X-ray vision. I started to see who people really were. I watched the way some of the pretty girls who I envied were treated like trophies one minute and torn apart the next. I saw how people bend their personalities to be liked, how boys changed depending on who was watching, and how exhausting it all was. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the sidelines, taking notes, becoming funny, becoming sharp, learning what mattered and what didn't. And with time, I realized I had something rare. I knew who I was. I didn't have to unlearn fake confidence or rewire my self-worth. I had already been through the fire, and I came out with armor that no amount of pretty privilege could buy. So if you've ever felt overlooked, I see you. And honestly, that perspective might just be your greatest asset.
And I'm very happy with this ugly privilege. I like being able to just go places and not fear for my life, even though I fear for my life every day. But still, like, you know, I don't have to worry. Like, it's not from experience, you know what I'm saying? So I'd say there's definitely some perks about being, like, not the huge, like, beauty standard.
And people spend billions trying to avoid being labeled unattractive. From surgery to starvation diets to filters that warp reality, the fear of being ugly runs deeper than most people are willing to admit. But if you live it, if you're already seen that way, there's nothing left to fear. You begin to move with a kind of quiet balance. You stop waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself. Wendy Williams is a longtime American talk show host known for her outspoken style and candid discussions about beauty standards, aging, and the pressures of maintaining a perfect image in the media spotlight. She famously said, "You either die young or you live long enough to see yourself canceled for aging," highlighting society's ruthless obsession with youth. And fear of ugliness is essentially fear of invisibility. But invisibility can be your greatest shield and a weapon. When you aren't performing for the gaze, you get to create your own terms. This is why many creatives, thinkers, and innovators come from outside conventional beauty cycles. They don't waste energy on surface level validation. And trends don't start with the beautiful. They start with the bold, with those who've been excluded and learned to create their own aesthetic. Subcultures, streetwear, drag, goth, grunge, all were born from people who didn't or couldn't fit in. Ugly people become trendsetters not by choice, but by necessity. They don't conform, so they have to create. Venus Swamp is a TikTok creator known for her gothic fashion, whose style breaks away from mainstream beauty norms and celebrates the unconventional. Similarly, the underground fashion creators and subculture icons have long pioneered new aesthetics that challenge the polished mainstream, from the punk movement to today's DIY and surrealist influencers. And when the world says you don't belong, creativity becomes the only option, and that creative pressure is the birthplace of cultural revolutions. Ugly privilege means you're not just reacting, you're rewriting the rulebook. The beautiful are trend followers, not trend creators. Real innovation comes from people who are excluded or forced to hack their way in. Ugly privilege means you don't chase trends, you actually start them. And many people who've depended on their looks face a kind of emotional collapse when their looks start to fade. Their sense of self was tied to youth and perfection. But when you never relied on beauty, aging is just life. It's not a fall from grace, it's actual freedom. Ugly people are already working with the deeper parts of themselves, the parts that time can't touch. Psychologist Dr. Nancy Adkov, author of Survival of the Prettiest, explores how aging creates identity crisis for people who tie their self-worth to appearance. Those who build their value in personality, skill, or character are more emotionally prepared for the inevitable changes time brings. And aging models the real hierarchy of life. Beauty fades, but character and grit don't. Ugly privilege means you're aging into power, while the beautiful are busy mourning their losses. And pretty people are often expected to be blatantly palatable. Their appeal is their acceptability. But ugly people, they're not burdened by the expectation. You can be weird, loud, eccentric. No one's trying to fit you into a mold. Tim Burton, a legendary filmmaker known for his quirky gothic style, has built an empire in embracing the weird and the wonderful. Whoopi Goldberg, an actress and comedian, has used her unique presence and humor to challenge Hollywood norms for decades. More recently, internet meme creator Brittany Broski became famous for relatable, imperfect, and comedic style, proving you don't have to be perfect to connect. And honestly, normal is boring. The world doesn't need more bland beauty queens. It needs weirdos who shake things up, you know? Ugly privilege means you get to break the mold and keep the world interesting. And there is a strange kind of privilege in being invisible.
When I say I have ugly privilege, what I mean by that is men, in general, don't find me attractive. For the most part, men think I'm ugly, and they leave me alone. And to me, that's a privilege. And how do I know men aren't attracted to me? Because they're not flirting with me, they're not hitting on me, they're not trying to get my phone number, they're not asking me out. Like, men in real life mostly leave me alone. It's very rare that I get male attention in real life.
You're not being sexualized, stared at, or constantly analyzed. You get to observe. You become an anthropologist of human behavior. You learn how people treat others when they think no one important is watching. And with that invisibility comes something powerful: choice. You get to curate your life without the pressure of being everyone's fantasy. Blind Boy Boat Club literally wears a bag over his head to avoid being objectified. And here's one of the most insightful cultural critics in podcasting today. And when it comes to love life, ugly privilege is quite interesting, because when someone loves you without the external perks, like no status, no looks, no aesthetic currency, it hits really different. You know, that kind of love isn't built on fantasy, it's built on seeing, truly seeing. It's when that kind of love finds you, you'll know it wasn't about your glow up or your angles, right? It was about your essence. Lindy West has spoken about how love, when you're considered unattractive, is often dismissed as impossible. But when you actually find it, it's more real than anything the movies sell. The love your best self narrative is a code for a love your Instagram filter.
I just saw this quote that said, if people fall in love with your flowers and not your roots, they don't know what to do when autumn comes. That really stuck with me.
Ugly privilege means you get to find love that's actually real, messy, complicated, and unfiltered. And that's worth way more. And you know, being unattractive forces you to think about your own narrative. You're not handed a script. You have to write one from scratch. And that's not a limitation, it's an actual gift. You get to build your own story around what actually matters. And while beauty may get you attention, only depth can hold it. You learn how to be unforgettable, not because you were seen, but because you made people feel something. Being handed a beauty-based script is like getting your role in someone else's movie. Ugly privilege means you're the director, you're the screenwriter, you're a star of your own blockbuster. No casting calls needed. And we like to think of pretty privilege as an all-access pass, but it comes with its own set of invisible chains. While the world hands you attention and admiration, it also demands conformity, constant upkeep, and emotional labor few talk about. Take Madeline Ford, for example, a writer and content creator known for her sharp critiques of beauty culture. She's spoken openly about how being conventionally attractive put her under pressure to always perform perfection, to stay polished, and to suppress parts of her personality that didn't fit the pretty mold. Madeline's experience reveals a key downside. Pretty privilege often means losing your freedom to just be. When you live in a spotlight, every move, every flaw, every mood swing is magnified. The expectations can feel like a cage, where your value is tied to a look that's always temporary. Aging, mood changes, or just not feeling like it can trigger anxiety and self-doubt because you're always used to being loved, or at least accepted, for your appearance alone. And contrast that with ugly privilege. Fewer people watch your every move, fewer demand perfection, and you have the breathing room to grow into yourself without the constant pressure of aesthetic approval. And sure, you might not get the automatic attention or respect, but you gain the priceless freedom to fail, to experiment, and to be truly human. And Madeline's story shines a light on how pretty privilege can sometimes be a golden cage, and why in a world obsessed with looks, the ugly often hold the keys to a kind of authenticity and resilience the beautiful might actually envy. And I was just thinking for a moment, what if being ugly isn't the worst thing that could happen to you, but the thing that actually frees you from everyone else's expectations? What if your invisibility gave you vision? What if rejection sharpened your instincts? What if your lack of aesthetic privilege was the reason you became someone worth remembering? Because here's the truth, the most magnetic people in the world aren't the most beautiful, they are the most real. And in a world full of filters, that's the rarest thing of all. So if you like the video, please give me some likes, subscribe to my channel. If you have any thoughts or other considerations, please let me know down in the comments. And that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Bye!